So there's an actual write-up in USNI News from usni.org written by Mr. Maha Dazir. He writes a few more details about what's going on with this massive war game or exercise, if you will. It's not really a war game because that is different. There's an exercise happening, including a ton of firepower in the Pacific, as we've talked about. But from the piece, he writes, 2 carrier strike groups drilled with the UK's Carrier Strike Group 21 and a Japanese big deck warship over the weekend. The exercise involves 6 different navies: the U.S. Navy, the Royal Navy, the Japan Defense Force, the Royal Netherlands Navy, because they have a destroyer with us, or a frigate, Royal Canadian Navy's with us, and the New Zealand ship, are a total of 17 surface ships that include 4 aircraft carriers. Insane. The exercise enhanced JM-SDF tactical skills and interoperability with participating navies. So that's a big goal of this. Is all these ships are constructed in different countries by different vendors. They share a lot of the same technologies, but it's important that the crews and commanders that are on these ships exercise these technologies, navigation systems, communication systems, weapon systems, data links. All those things need to be practiced and worked with together so they gain experience in how to operate them. The last thing you want to do in the confusion of a rapidly moving battle is not know how to operate your equipment with another ship from another nation that you're supposed to be working with. So this is why that's one reason why they do these exercises. All right, there's a quote from the piece here. It says, quote, "In addition to the 2 carrier strike groups, the U.S. Navy, I feel honored to be able to train with the Royal Navy's most advanced carrier strike group. This is an extremely valuable experience," says JM-SDF Escort Flotilla Commander Rear Admiral Kono Yusashi, said in the English language news release. This training, which brings together 3 CSGs, embodies the strong will of participating countries to realize the free and open Indo-Pacific. JM-SDF will work closely with allied and friendly navies which share the same objectives to respond to global changes and defend maritime order based on rule of law. They keep repeating this because this is what we're trying to maintain. We're not trying to start a war. We're not trying to raise tensions. We just want everybody to be able to sail these waters without being impeded. And China is trying to flip the script on that. Maritime order based on rule of law. With the Carl Vincent's Carrier Strike Group 4th exercise with the allies and partners since entering service of the 7th Fleet, CSG Commander Rear Admiral Dan Martin said in the release, quote, "And we have continued to improve our ability to conduct prompt and sustained operations at sea with more mobile, agile, and flexible force," Martin said. That's the U.S. 7th Fleet Commander quoting that. The UK Commander, Commodore Steve Morehouse, said the British CSG offers the largest 5th generation air wing afloat today, working with our close allies to develop operating procedures and capabilities while currently showcasing the agility of land carrier-based aviation. The Indo-Pacific demonstrates our commitment to the region. All right, so that's kind of like the UK's spokesperson. JM-SDF ships are taking part in the exercise, including the destroyer carrier DDH-182. That's what this other relatively smaller ship is right here. It's a large deck carrier, but I guess they're operating helicopters off that, it sounds like. You could probably land VTOLs there too. I don't see why not. You know, like the Ospreys and the F-35. Is it Charlies that are the vertical lands? Or is it the Bravos? It might be the Bravos. Anyway, the UK CSG 21 ships involved are the Queen Elizabeth. Oh, and then we're just going to list the ships again like we just did. HMS Defender, the Kent, replenishment ships, Victoria and Tide Spring, with the American and Dutch ships alongside. The New Zealand frigate is the Te Kaha F-77. So that's a relatively new ship joining the flotilla there. 2 of the JM-SDF's other 3 destroyer helicopter carriers are also underway. Oh, interesting. So they have a large part of the Japanese fleet is at sea right now. The refit phase for the work enabling it to operate with the F-35 Bravo Lightning II Joint Strike Fighters, the U.S. Marines F-35Bs are currently embarked on the Izumo. So that's the vertical short takeoff ones is the Bravo. Interesting. Okay, so the main body of the UK CSG-2, 21 is now on its way to Singapore for an exercise with the Republic of Singapore Navy. And I bet you that's going to be some awesome shore leave if they get some time in Singapore. That's a beautiful city. Let's take a look at this. See if we have some photos here. Oh, yeah. So this is from the Queen Elizabeth. Look at this observation deck. They have huge windows. Look at all this firepower in the background, too. This just is wonderful. This makes me miss going to sea, man. All this firepower sailing together is great. This is one of those Congo class destroyers based on our Arleigh Burke class design. The bow of it looks very similar to an Arleigh Burke, but it's a little bit different in the rear here, and Japanese flag, but very similar in capabilities. And look at this stud. This guy will not forget this moment. Coordinating air operations from the island here with all the ships sailing around him. This is great. This is the dream, guys. This is the job that you want. That's the responsibility, the authority. This man holds a lot of power. Everybody in this room holds a lot of power, military power. Yeah. This is a little bit of military porn, I'll be honest with you. This is very exciting to me. I love this. And like I said, these are two very important ships with the fleet. These are just two of I counted 3 in the other picture, support vessels. These guys have all the stores. They have all the fuel and the food. And, they keep they keep the ships at sea longer. These are a very vital part of of success here. They don't get enough credit, which is why I love pictures like this so I can talk about them. And these guys spend more time at sea than anybody else, the military sea lift commands. And we couldn't do the job as well as we do it without them. So big tip of the hat to military sea lift. Absolutely. Absolute chads. This is from Commander UK Strike Group. I'm going to go ahead and give him a follow because I want more of that. I want more of that in my life. All right. We're about to go into the last story of the day, but let's just see if chat has anything to add to that. British helos are so chubby. Yeah, that's true. I don't know why. They got something in there. Japan has 3 aircraft carriers at sea for the first time since 1945. Yeah, I believe that. Absolutely. Ivan says something is rising and it's not the 554 gun. Yeah, that's true. Look at this absolute Chad of a submarine. This is a Bori class here. This is Russia's latest generation of ballistic missile submarine. Supposedly very good. I have it on good authority that this is a quiet, capable submarine. Carries ballistic missiles. This is equivalent to our Ohio class. Doesn't have as many tubes. Doesn't carry as many individual missiles, but has the same mission and is almost as quiet as our Ohio class. Anyway, so let's read this from Naval News. This piece written by the Naval News staff, so multiple contributors here. 3 Russian submarines will complete acceptance trials by the end of the year. This is huge because Russia has been working on getting these ships operational for a long time. And now they've gotten themselves into a rhythm where they're going to be completing these, every other year or maybe one a year for, many years to come. But they've now got their Sevmast shipyard production line rolling out Yasin class attack submarines, Bori class attack submarine or ballistic missile submarines, and Belgorod class. Well, it's not Belgorod class, but Belgorod-like submarines, which those hold the large diameter Poseidon unmanned underwater craft. So from the piece, referencing TASS Russian news agency, so keep that in mind as we read this. The Belgorod nuclear submarine that carries the Poseidon unmanned underwater craft, which is that's a very clever way of saying nuclear torpedo, as well as the Novosibirsk and the Cayenne Oleg nuclear submarines will complete acceptance trials by the end of the year, says a spokesman from Sevmast Shipyard. Quote, it is the turn of the Novosibirsk and the Kanyaz Oleg and the Belgorod. The submarines have yet to sail several times to the sea for factory and acceptance trials by the end of the year. All the work is on schedule. The submarines properly perform and confirm characteristics. The translation isn't very good there, but I think you get the point. He says this year, Sevmast laid down the Dmitry Donsky and the Yangs Potemkin Bori A-class nuclear submarines. We are taking maximum effort to ensure rhythmic construction. So they're going to be building, these are ballistic missile submarines, by the way. and they're going to be building these, apparently 2 at a time. That's crazy, but yeah, that's what they're doing. In summer, the Krynauts submarine, which is the 885M, which is the Yasin modified or modernized, left the slipway. The Kazan led the submarine project group, has joined the Navy in the spring. Wow. So my point is, Russia is putting to sea a lot of brand new capable submarines. This will bring their operational submarines, their operational Yasins, up to 3. And the Bori class would be at least 2 at this point. Maybe more than 2. But so there's a whole new generation of submarines coming out of Russia now that are very capable. Remember, I told you guys the story before from one credible source that I have that was part of a large task force looking for the Yasin a couple years ago during her maiden deployment out into the Norwegian Sea, and we think the North Atlantic as well. We don't know for sure because we could not find her, which means that she doesn't radiate a lot of noise. She may be noisy, but we never got close enough to hear her. She could also be as silent as a ghost. Well, they've got 3 of those now, and at least 2 Boris out there. The Bori being a completely different animal. The Bori is going to be a ballistic missile submarine that doesn't leave the Arctic Ocean, in my opinion. We'll see whether that actually happens, because it doesn't need to. Hell, it doesn't need to leave the White Sea, which is that little body of water kind of southeast of the Kola Peninsula, because it can hit its targets from there too. But probably you're going to see a lot of these Boris up around the marginal ice zone, maybe even under the ice. In the summertime, there's not a lot of ice up around the North Pole anymore, but still up in that Arctic Ocean region is where she's going to be operating, because she can shower targets all over the Northern Hemisphere from that area, whether it's North America or Europe or even China. It doesn't matter. If you're in the Arctic Ocean, because you're at the top of the world, top of the globe, you can hit everything in the Northern Hemisphere because it's all the same distance, no matter which direction you look. Yeah. So something to keep our eye on. We haven't talked about Russian submarines here in a few weeks, so I just want to remind everybody that Russia is producing high-quality submarines again at a more rapid rate than they had in the past. Because the original Yasin, if you remember, was originally designed and going to be constructed like in the late 90s and early 2000s. And we didn't actually get one until, relatively recently. And now they've got their production line going. They're going to be pumping these guys out as if it's a assembly line of submarines. What do you guys think of this? Is Russia still a significant naval threat? Should we stay focused on China, or do we need to have, our eyes on both? I would say that Russia has always been a threat. They have very capable weapon systems. They have that Poseidon nuclear-powered, nuclear-tipped long-range torpedo that can go for many, many hundreds of miles and then explode an enormous warhead. We also have the new Zarkon missile that's going to be operational in 2022, and it's going to be delivered from 2022 to 2025. 3 years of constant delivery, and the Zarkon missile can be launched submerged from a warship and from a transport erector launcher, which is essentially a truck that can stop, it's mobile, obviously, stop and then launch the missile somewhere. And that is a hypersonic weapon. It does Mach 9. It sustains a speed of Mach 7. There is nothing that's public, that's been publicly announced, that can defeat that weapon. If the weapon is accurately targeted and performs as expected, it will hit the target, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. If you combine that type of capability with a Poseidon nuclear torpedo that can explode in the deep waters of the ocean near a coastline, wiping out entire cities and harbors, that's very dangerous. That's a very dangerous combination to have. And Russia has that capability. We don't have a defense against either one of these 2 new weapons, and they're building these submarines at a very rapid rate again. I feel as if I'm repeating myself, but people need to get this message, and I need to hammer it home, Let's see, Gridlock says, end air launched. Is a Zarkon air launched? I'm not aware of a successful air launch test. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. That just means I'm not aware of it. Ernest says, at this point, no world leader wants to be the person blamed for lighting a nuclear match. Yeah, that's true. Maybe mutually assured destruction is still in effect, which I thought that we would eventually evolve out of that primitive strategy, but maybe it's here to stay, which is a damn shame. It says a lot about human nature, doesn't it? Why can't we move on from that? Hey, Oren, how's it going? Espionage says, can Russia launch those weapons from dry dock? Probably not. Okay, you might have something there. Foxhound can carry one. Oh, can it really? Okay, so chat is saying they can be air launched as well. Man, that's all domains except cyber and space. So they can shoot these from 3 of the 5 modern combat domains. That's highly capable. I'm not trying to raise fears. Don't take it as that. I just want you guys to be aware. People that don't know about these systems need to learn that they do exist. And at the very least, we have to figure out a way to defeat them, just to defend ourselves. Because what if they shoot this? All we can do is wait for it to hit us in 2021. That's where we are right now. That's the world we live in. Intimidator says you'll need a bigger Navy for the 2 ocean problem. This is true. We're also going to reconstruct our Navy. There's a report to Congress. It's not published yet. And when it gets published, it might be really boring, but I am going to reference it. And we're going to definitely move a lot of our Atlantic naval assets to the Pacific because of the Chinese threat over there. And that's what Russia wants. The question is, how are we going to reorganize the United States Navy? That's what that report's going to tell us. As far as I know, that report is being written right now. It's not even been presented yet. When it is presented, it'll be classified, of course. But then eventually there will be a redacted, unclassified version of that report coming hopefully soon. I'm hoping to have it by the end of the year, but there's really no timeline on stuff like that. But when it is released, we'll talk about how we're going to reorganize the Navy and who's going to be left on the Atlantic side to counter ships like this, submarines like this. I don't know. All right. That's it for today. We're going to go back and do some more Cold Waters gameplay. We'll take a short break in between. If you're not a member, you may see 3 minutes of ads. You're not missing any content. We'll be back after those ads completed playing. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back, guys.